guys, it's Jojo here with another video, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for liking, for sharing and commenting on my previous video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about FPS, which stands for frame rates per second. Now you may be wondering, what is frame rates per second? Frame rates per second essentially stands for the number of frames or images that your camera can capture in a second. And so there are 24 frames per second, there is 30 frames per second, there is 60 frames per second, 120, 2000, and so on and so forth. I'm currently shooting this video in 30 frames per second, depending on what your camera can allow you to shoot. So you may have got a new camera. It could be a DSLR, it could be a mirrorless one like the one I'm using, or it could be a point and shoot like this one, this 10-year-old camera that I have here that I took from my sister. I doubt it works again. Anyway, yeah, or even your phone. So if you have a smartphone that has a camera, you may have encountered FPS or frame rates on it. To demonstrate this, if you pick up your phone right now and you turn or head over to the video, and I'm using an iOS here, if you look on the top right of your screen, you would see HD, it could say sometimes 4K, and then there's a number which would either be 30 or 60. Now mine right now says 30. If you do tap on the 30, it will switch to 60. What that means is that you switch from a 30 frames per second into 60 frames per second. So you might be wondering, why is it important to know all about frame rates? Well, knowing about frame rates will help you in making great or better videos. So for instance, if you're looking to create a content that involves slow motion, with the right frame rate, you'll be able to get a really good content. To demonstrate this, I have 3 rubber bands here with me. The yellow one, which is the biggest one, will be representing 120 FPS frame rates per second, and this little one here would be representing 30 frames per second, and then this blue one here will be representing 60 frames per second. All right, where am I going with this? You shot a 30 frames per second video, and then in post you want to slow it down so you can have some slow motion in there. So in post, when you're slowing it down, this is what you're doing. You're basically stretching the video, and you can only stretch it so far with a 30 frames per second video or a 24 frames per second video, and then you can't go anymore. If you keep going, what happens is the video breaks. Ouch, the video breaks, right? Now we move on to 60 frames per second. Now watch this. For 60 frames, we stretch it and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch until we can't go anymore, and then it also breaks. Oof, hitting myself here. Anyway, and then we have the 120 frames per second, and with this one, we'll be able to stretch it as much as we can. Like that. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say here, or what I'm trying to demonstrate here. So the higher the frame rate, the slower you can get your video to be. So to best demonstrate this, I shot a couple of B-rolls in different frames, in 30, in 60, and in 120, and I will demonstrate what happens in post when you decide to slow them down. And this is me pouring the cranberry juice at 30 frames per second. And then in Premiere Pro, I edited the video, slowed it down. So this is 30% speed. And then this was also shot in 60 frames per second, normal speed. Edited in post, 40% speed. And then this is for 120 frames per second, normal speed, and this is 120 frames per second at 20% speed. Notice the difference in motion between all 3 videos. So knowing all this, you might be wondering, when do I use 60? When do I use 120 frames per second? When do I use 30 frames per second. Now, I would use 120 frames per second if I'm trying to capture a motion that is really fast. So like a guy skating or someone running or going for a run or going for a jog. And then I have the idea of maybe slowing it down in post so I can get a really smooth slow motion. Again, you can also shoot in 60 if your camera does not have the ability to shoot in 120 frames per second. And also in 30 if you do not plan to slow it down in post. Now 30 is what the human eye is used to. Some say it's 24 frames per second. Mind you, most of the movies that we watch is all in 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second, right? So determining what type of frame rates to be shooting in all depends on the look that you're looking for in your video, right? So I hope you guys learned a thing or two today about frame rates. Please like, share, comment, and most importantly, please subscribe. And I'll see you in another video.